In this video, we will discuss another type of transport system in animal, which is the lymphatic system. Unlike the blood transport system, the lymphatic system functions to deliver lymph or lymphatic fluid. There are three main functions of the lymphatic system. Firstly is to collect and return the interstitial fluid to the bloodstream. Interstitial fluid are the fluid surrounding the tissues. Inter means in between, tissue means tissue. The second function of lymphatic system is to transport fat from the small intestine to the bloodstream. Thirdly is to filter the interstitial fluid against infection or pathogen before it is returned to the bloodstream. Now we will look into the components of the lymphatic system. The major component is the lymph or the lymphatic fluid. Next is lymphatic vessel, which can be divided into the lymphatic capillaries, lymphatic vessel, and then lymphatic ducts. The next component is the lymphatic organs. The first organ is thymus, which can be found close to the heart. The main function of the thymus is to produce hormone thymosin, which involves in maturation of the lymphocyte. The second lymphatic organ is tonsils, which can be found at the back of our throat close to the pharynx. Tonsils function to trap and remove pathogen or foreign substances to prevent infection. The next lymphatic organ is spleen. Spleen can be found underneath the left part of the diaphragm close to the liver. It also functions to trap and remove pathogens or foreign substances from the blood, as well as destroying worn out blood cells, and holds a small reserve of blood. Next is the lymph node, which is the most numerous lymphatic organ. Lymphatic node can be found throughout the lymphatic system. Lymph node contain many lymphocytes that will trap and remove pathogens or foreign substances from the lymph. That was the component of the lymphatic system. Now we will discuss the major function of lymphatic system, which is to collect and return interstitial fluid to the blood circulation. First is the formation of the interstitial fluid. Interstitial fluid originates from the blood plasma coming from the artery. Blood plasma in the artery will enter a smaller blood vessel called arteriole and then into the blood capillaries. The high blood pressure and the small diameter of the blood capillaries causes some of the blood plasma to be pushed out of the blood capillaries into the interstitial space. The interstitial space refers to the space present in between the tissues. Other than the high blood pressure and the smaller diameter of the capillaries, the thin wall of the blood capillaries, which is only about 1 cell thick, allows the blood plasma to seep out of the wall of the capillaries. It is the blood plasma that has exited the blood capillaries into the interstitial space will become the interstitial fluid. Interstitial fluid has most of the components of the blood plasma except for the red blood cells, platelet, and large plasma proteins. Next, 90% of the interstitial fluid will be reabsorbed into the blood capillaries at the venule end of the blood capillaries, which will then return to the blood circulation. This reabsorption is due to the blood plasma inside the capillaries at the venule end having higher osmotic pressure and low water potential compared to the interstitial fluid. The high osmotic pressure is because of the blood plasma in the blood capillaries have high concentration of solute in the form of red blood cell, platelet, and plasma proteins that did not get pushed out of the blood capillaries at the arteriole end. At the same time, the low water potential is because of the blood plasma has exited the capillary at the arteriole end, so less fluid present in the blood plasma at the venule end of the capillaries. Both of these conditions are responsible for about 90% of the interstitial fluid being reabsorbed into the blood capillaries at the venule end. The blood in the capillaries will enter the venule and then into the vein and transported back to the heart. The other 10% of the interstitial fluid will enter the lymphatic system at lymphatic capillaries. Lymphatic capillaries are the smallest lymphatic vessels which are close-ended. Once the interstitial fluid has entered the lymphatic capillaries, it is now known as the lymphatic fluid or lymph. This means that lymphatic fluid and the interstitial fluid are basically the same thing and has the same components. The only difference is the location where the fluid can be found in. From the lymphatic capillaries, lymph will be transported to the lymphatic vessel and then to lymphatic organs, where the lymph will be filtered from pathogens and foreign substances. Finally, the lymphatic fluid coming from the entire body will be collected inside the lymphatic duct and returned to the blood circulation via left and right subclavian vein. This is how the interstitial fluid is collected and returned back to the blood circulation. 90% of the interstitial fluid reabsorbed back into the blood capillary at the venule end, while the other 10% will enter the lymphatic system and then transported back to the blood circulation via left and right subclavian vein.